This episode is sponsored by Esteep Conversations' favorite, Conjure Tea. Conjure Tea is a woman-owned, black-owned tea business that was founded by pastry chef Shania Thomas Floyd. If you want to support local businesses and drink great tea, Conjure Tea is your answer. The teas I'm digging most right now are Golden Ticket and Decadence. Decadence is a tasty tea that is exactly the combination you'd hope for from a pastry chef. Black tea with rose petals, strawberry pieces, and cocoa nibs. If that's not your bag, you've got to try Golden Ticket, a turmeric-based tea that helps with joint stiffness and inflammation. I was never on the turmeric train before, but let's just say my joints aren't getting any younger, and this is a tasty fix for that problem. The company has been kind enough to give 15% off your first online order to all Steep Conversations listeners by using code STEEP15 on conjuretea.com. That's promo code STEEP15 to get 15% off your first order at conjuretea.com.
They'd be like, I can't serve you anymore. And I would be like, do you have any idea who my father is? And then they'd wait a second, and then I'd be like, because I'm looking for him. I have no idea who he is. Come on.
We are drinking Bird and Blend's Totally Nutty. It is a black tea. So traditionally, you're like, it's delicious. I think it's great. It's got real almond pieces in it, which I like. But this is brewed the same way any black tea is, 212 or 100 Celsius, depending on what your kettle is. I brewed this for 4 minutes. You can go a little more if you want to. It's a judgment-free T-zone. It's a JFTZ.
Yeah.
That's what this one is. I chose this obviously for you because I think that you get very nutty on stage, and I mean that in the most complimentary way.
Yeah. That's pretty great. This tea is good, by the way.
Like
I do think a 4-minute brew time was correct.
Yeah.
Because this tea's already getting me kind of jacked up.
I'm excited.
And I do I've only had, I don't know how much coffee you drink, but I drink at least 2 cups of coffee, and I've only had one. And, I was a little hungover this morning. And it was my first time trying alcohol.
No way.
I did not like it.
No.
I hated it.
I hated it so much. I had a lot.
Yeah, I had so much. So yeah, this is going to be that good boost for me.
I was going to ask you, because we talked a little bit off mic about the fact that you worked in coffee, but do you drink a lot of tea?
No.
You don't? Do you not like tea?
And every time I do drink tea, I'm just like, I should have this around more.
Yeah.
Because really, my hot beverages, it's 2 or 3 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
And then I switch to water, juice. 12 LaCroix.
12 LaCroix. Can I tell you, I wasn't going to say anything, but when you pulled up, I looked, I was like, is he drinking a LaCroix?
I was drinking it. Yeah. It was a long drive. I mean, I needed a treat.
I get it. Well, I feel like it was so long, you could just camp out here. You want to stay overnight.
I'm staying overnight.
That's fine.
What's the good pizza place over here?
Is there a good pizza place over here? I hope you're not thinking about the one on Abbot Kinney, because I'm not crazy about the pizza there.
Which one?
Jelena is what you're probably thinking about.
Yeah, I think so. There was also, speaking of Palms.
Yes.
We all know and love Palms.
I do.
There is one of my favorite pizza places ever. And
you've got my attention.
It's not going to hold up to
I'm a New Yorker.
York.
Yeah.
It's not going to hold up to New York. But for LA, they nail the sauce and they nail the cheese blend. The crust could be slightly better, but it's still pretty good. And that place is called The Coop.
The Coop.
And it's there's not even seating in there. You literally
it's just takeaway?
It's just takeaway. They used to do slices. I don't know if they still do since
That's
COVID.
A big thing. It's hard to find places that'll do slices.
They were. If you get a whole pie, I mean, I would legit. Do it. It's legit.
I want to go back a little bit because one of the things you said, I'm just curious. I don't know. I feel like we're probably somewhat similar in age. As I've gotten older, I will get a hangover from 2 drinks. I don't know how much you had last night. I'm guessing more than 2, but 2 drinks will get me, kind of knock me a little bit the next day.
You know what's weird? Is I feel like I'm getting stronger with age. I don't know what's happening.
You're less hungover?
I'm not even kidding you, 6 drinks last night. And I feel totally fine now.
Fine.
I feel great.
When you came out, we were talking off the mic, you seem like in a wonderful mood, very energetic.
I was smoking weed all day too. I went to Gelson's.
Wait, is that where you smoke your weed at Gelson's?
I smoked it on the way.
Sure. I would never do that because then you're buying all kinds of stuff that you didn't plan to buy.
And you could not be spending more money at a place with the same products as a Ralph's.
100%.
It's like, hey, do you like Ralph's, but you want to pay like $3 to $4 more? Gelson's.
I'm a weirdly obsessed with mango. I love mango.
Same.
And do you really?
Oh, yeah.
So it's my favorite fruit. Love, love, love mango. And Jess was like running out to pick up some groceries. And I was like, hey, would you mind grabbing me a few mangoes?
Yep.
I didn't know she was going to Gelson's. I thought she was just going to like run to a grocery store.
$42.
It was $11 a mango. I was like,
$11 one mango.
One mango.
I was just kidding around.
No,
I was kind of close.
I'm dead serious. And she goes, you spend a lot on mango. I was like, no, not really. I was like, it's like, I probably buy like 4 or 5 mangoes a week. She goes, how can you afford that? And I was like, what is happening? And she goes, they were $11 a mango. I was like, where did you go? $11? It's supposed to be $2.
Yeah. Gelson's, no good, but it's the closest. I mean, I go there all the time because it's the only grocery store I could technically walk to.
Oh, so I thought you were going to say I'm only allowed into it.
I've been 86th from every single reasonably priced grocery store.
Were you a server? Because very few people use the phrase 86th.
Oh, yeah. I've done it all.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, like being a server at somewhere like Olive Garden and having to like go up to a table and sincerely ask him how it was.
Oh, God.
And like what kind of answers, like who was actually being like, God, it was just what we wanted.
It's what we were hoping for.
It was even better than we've heard.
No, I can't. I've never eaten an Olive Garden. Is that crazy?
Man. I literally have the funniest picture of my mom when we're eating at Olive Garden because I wanted to go there as a joke. And so we went and my mom ordered like ravioli or something. And I got a picture of her looking down at her plate. And it was like all the emotions of like disappointment, repulsion, generally being sad, all captured in her looking down. And I just posted, I was like, when you're here, your family. And then she made me take it down because she didn't like the way she looked in the picture, you know. Women and men and everyone, depending on the angle. But
oh my God, I tried to take pictures of my girlfriend and her sister is just cutthroat. She's going through, she goes, garbage, 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 garbage. She goes, you don't know how to capture angles well, do you? And I was like, well, but that question feels like you answered it within your question and it was hurtful.
It's tough to take good photos of people sometimes. When in doubt, you put the camera up, but it's facing down because the angles are so much better.
I'm not good, generally speaking. I also didn't know I had a good side until when I was taking a picture with Jess. Someone was taking the photo. She goes, oh, no, get on your good side. And I was like, I thought they were all good.
Yeah, we got my good side right now.
Do you know your good side?
I mean, yeah, they're both not great. But it's fine.
I like them both. I like both sides.
Hey,
both sides are good.
Thanks.
Wait, okay. So when you moved, because I remember we were messaging when you had moved to Portland, what prompted you to come back?
I was always going to come back. I was just kind of waiting for like a real reason.
Me?
And that was this episode of the podcast now. I actually just got back into town right now. Drove straight here.
Good.
No, I was just like waiting for stand-up to come back because, you know, in all honesty, all the auditions that I'm still getting are self-tapes. I'm not going anywhere in person.
Sure.
You know, so I was auditioning quite a bit when I was up there.
Yeah.
And I was doing way more stand-up.
In Portland?
Oh, yeah. There was shit almost every night of the week in the summer up there.
That's amazing.
Compared to anywhere else, yeah.
When you came out here, did you move out here from Portland originally? Like the first time you came out here?
Yeah.
And then you were just like, I'm going to do comedy? Or you were just like, I'm going to move to LA and we'll see what happens?
Oh, no. Yeah, I didn't care much for stand-up.
I didn't care for those people. I didn't like
it just wasn't something that interested me. And now I sound like a dickhead. But like I came down here to try and be an actor and do voiceovers. And
I do think you have a great voice. Not to interrupt you, but I do generally enjoy your voice a lot. And I think you'd be good for it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jess.
I really appreciate that. And then, you know, that turned out to be really hard to get voiceover
you were like, where's
stuff,
my check? And
especially,
they were like, no.
Yeah. And I mean, I was also completely fucking delusional and just thought that I would just meet someone famous and they would basically pull a Crashing and be like, I want to make this guy a star.
It does happen. Just not to us.
No. I saw a guy from Reservation Dogs when I was getting coffee earlier and I didn't have the courage to come up to him. I was like, he would probably actually really like this if somebody came up to him in this like crowded restaurant was like, dude, I love you and Reservation Dogs.
Hell yeah.
Best show. But then I just chickened out. I don't know. I hate bothering people.
I don't like bothering people either. So Jess always jokes that she's like, we see celebrities all the time that you seem not to care about. We see someone nobody knows and you lose your mind. Do you know Bill Lawrence? He was the showrunner on Scrubs and Ted Lasso.
I don't know what he looks like.
So I do.
Nice.
And because Scrubs is
Nice.
I don't want to brag. Scrubs is my favorite show of all time. And so I love Bill Lawrence. And so I saw him and I grabbed Jess's arm super tight. And Jess goes, what? And I go, that's Bill Lawrence. And she was like, no one else knows this but you. You can go talk to him. I go, he's doing things I don't want to. I'm not going to, Meanwhile, I was at a different coffee place and someone just comes up behind me. Someone goes behind me and just goes, excuse me, I'm trying to find where my dinner is. I turn around. I was like, oh, that's Martin Short. Oh, hi. That's a bad Jiminy Glick. But like that is, but he was behind me and I was like, oh, it's right down the hall. And he's like, oh, great. Do I need a reservation? And I was like, no, I mean, you're meeting people. They probably have a table. He goes, all right, great. And then he walked away. But I was like, yeah, that's Martin Short. But I wasn't like, hey, but with Bill Lawrence, I was like, oh my God.
I feel like you should have talked to him.
Which one? Bill Lawrence?
Bill Lawrence. I think he would have given you a job.
Yeah, right. Hey, buddy, can I have a job? I've written like 7 pilots and I've studied your shows back to front. Hire me. He would have been like, keep writing, buddy. You'll do this.
I don't know.
Listen, I'm going to live to regret it forever.
Yeah, you will for sure. But there'll be more opportunities.
I hope. So you moved down here. You're expecting to meet someone famous. It doesn't happen.
That never happened.
Nope.
At the very least, I had moved away from my hometown. And I could say that no matter what.
Yeah.
And then I just worked down the street from this infamous open mic. It was called Brewco in Westwood. It doesn't exist anymore. But it was like, you have to go through this bar. It's like a Bruins bar. So, college kids hang out there.
Yeah.
You go through it out to this courtyard and then you walk up into this separate upstairs room, like a very small room. And they had shows, open mics, and it basically pretty much all those Meltdown and, that indie scene, like, Jonah Ray and Kumail, like all those guys kind of came up through there. They had kind of graduated maybe like a year or two before I went there for the first time.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a place where like people went on to have pretty good careers, kind of started out. But it was notoriously hard. It was fucking brutal. Just one of those rooms where it's packed. But it's all comedians and it's all like the cool kid comedians. So like that was my very first open mic was there. I got obsessed with Zach Galifianakis when I first saw The Purple Onion. And like then I just kind of went down YouTube and just watched everything he did. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Late Night with Zach, I think was a show he had on VH1.
On VH1, yeah, so funny.
It was great.
Man Bites Dog, where he was like the cameraman.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then I would just watch every random clip of like his stand-up just from, just live stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's what I'm going to do, man. But I still wrote out like 3 full pages of a set, like word for word and trying to memorize it. I had no idea what it was.
I could never do that.
I'd never do that now. I don't write hardly at all.
I've never written a joke.
I don't write hardly at all.
I don't know how to do it.
I basically went there and I watched the whole thing, the whole mic. Didn't perform, but I watched like 3 hours of it.
I'm so sorry.
And I left and I was like, I can do this.
Oh, no.
I'm coming. So I came back next week with my then girlfriend.
What? You brought your girlfriend to your first open mic?
She wanted to go.
No.
She was and I was like, yeah.
I don't let Jess go now. I'll let her go to shows, but definitely not a mic.
Yeah,
Never.
no, I didn't know the difference. I kind of thought I had a very skewed view of what I thought my first time doing comedy was going to be. I thought I would go up there, and just people were like, wah. Obviously that didn't happen. Some people are like, oh, my first time I did great. And then I like didn't do good but they're like, my first time was actually good.
Yeah.
Yeah, not me. I bombed so bad. Like even looking back on it now, like I've bombed a ton.
Yeah, sure.
A ton.
I bombed very recently. Yeah, go ahead.
In places that sometimes is dangerous. Like if you bomb in some little podunk bar in the middle of nowhere and like they actively hate you, you got to go quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't have a lot going on and beating up a comedian. That sounds pretty sweet.
Have you ever had a close call?
Oh, yeah, many times, I think. But not to where anyone actually physically assaulted me. But there's been moments where I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I got to get out of here for sure. I mean, I've had people almost like run on stage and try to fight before, too.
I once had a guy bang his head on a table and just say, no. And I was like, okay, that's fair.
Bang his own head.
Literally did this. He was so drunk. He banged his head on the table and just said no as loud as he could. And he then goes, please stop.
That's funny.
I know. Well, here's what's funny. I look at him literally because I know it's not going well. I look at him and I just go, I get it. I've got 3 more minutes and we'll both get out of here.
3 more minutes. Oh, man.
It's a nightmare.
I'm never going to tap out early. I'm never going to end early.
I'll never give time back. Never.
I will still run the light.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to run this light.
I'm going to have more of this tea.
Oh my God, please pour yourself.
Yeah. That's good stuff. What's it called again?
Totally Nutty by Bird and Blend.
God, nothing's better than Totally Nutty by Bird and Blend.
Once you fill yourself up. Well, I think we can use this break for our first segment. Are you ready for the Newly Friend game?
Let's do it.
Cue the music and post. Oh, I love that.
God, what a great tune.
So the Newly Friend game, you grab your whiteboard over there. It's like the Newlywed game, but we're friends. I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to write down your answer. I'm going to try and guess what your answer is. Then we'll flip our boards and see what the story is.
Okay.
And then we'll do the same thing for me. I'll tell you a question for me. I'll write down my answer. You try and guess what I wrote. So we're going to do you first.
Okay.
That's what they said.
I hope you've been paying attention. Otherwise, we have marital problems.
So I was going to give you a different question, but you said off mic, and we'll touch on it maybe right after this, that you used to work at a coffee shop. You did latte art competitions, all this kind of stuff. So I changed your question last minute. Your question is now not a very specific one, but what is generally the most obnoxious coffee order someone can make? So I'm sure that one time you got like, let me get 17 pumps of this and 87 things. Not like that, but like generally, what is the most obnoxious coffee order that someone can make that is somewhat of a popular order? Does that make sense? Is that a fair question?
Yeah.
So don't tell me, write it down.
Okay.
I'm going to say this. Let's flip our boards on 3. 1, 2, 3. Simon wrote bone dry latte cappuccino. I wrote pour over coffee.
Oh, okay.
Now, the reason that I wrote pour over coffee is twofold. One, it takes a really long time.
Oh, yeah.
And secondly, I feel like the people that order it happen to be generally pretty obnoxious.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If somebody orders a pour over and you have like a line of people, pretty annoying. But also, it's part of the deal.
I've not heard of a bone dry latte or cappuccino.
This is actually something that ruins the quality, which for me is more than like somebody being like, let me get 4 pumps of diddly dee and extra halalala.
I get extra halalala.
You like that? Yeah.
I love it. It's my favorite.
Yeah. Basically, you just make like a shit ton of foam. So where like a latte is textured milk foam.
It's like espresso, then it's like what? Like that milk and then a little foam? Is that what a latte is?
Yeah. And typically, you know, when you're pouring the drink, you're doing it so that, you know, you're drawing the latte art with the foam.
Yeah.
It's kind of left over. With this, you're basically just like scorching milk to make it just all frothed foam. And it takes a long time. It wastes like a shit ton of milk. And it's just, only a real fucking asshole would ever order it. I'll happily make you
my order.
I'll happily do a pour over with a line of like 5, 6 deep than somebody being like, let me get a bone dry cappuccino. I also worked at this place where like we only made things one certain way. So if you got a latte, we made it one way. We didn't make like a wet latte or
I've never even heard of a wet latte.
Yeah. So that's like where it's no foam at all. It's just hot milk. All of this stuff is very important and matters.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that I always understood it, because clearly, I enjoy coffee. I got much more into it because my girlfriend drinks a lot of it. And this is probably going to sound so basic. I always understood it as latte is espresso, more milk, a little bit of foam. Cappuccino is espresso, a little bit of milk, more foam.
Yeah.
Is a bone dry cappuccino just take out the milk in the middle and it's just espresso,
all foam.
A little bit of foam?
Yeah.
Or a lot of foam?
Lot of foam. All foam. Espresso and all foam.
Hey.
It's gross. And, you know, kind of what I was taught is that like the only difference really between a cappuccino and a latte is just the size, the amount. So like a latte typically, you know, depending on where you go, like a traditional latte is like 8 to 10 ounces. And a cappuccino would be like 6 ounces. Then you got your like cortados, your Gibraltars, your
What's a
macchiatos, your chapatitos.
Oh, so I used to order a chapatito.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chapatito.
It's a cappuccino with Tito's in it.
Tito's, yeah, a little bit of Tito's.
Has anyone ever tried to come into your, I swear we'll get to mine in a second, but has anyone ever come into your coffee shop and go, I want an Irish coffee? Like, has anyone ever tried to put booze in it when you were back in the day?
When I was back there?
Yeah.
No.
Never?
And looking back on it, I'm kind of insulted. I
You're like, I would have done it.
We definitely, I'd have some sips backstage. Everything's a theater to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Everything's a performance. But yeah, no one ever asked me.
I literally was texting a booker. I was doing a club this past weekend. I texted a booker and I was like, hey, when are you rolling up to the theater? And he goes, oh, my dad's name is Theater. You could call me Comedy Club. And I was like, oh, eat me. Okay, so the question for me, and here's what I'm going to say. Okay.
Yeah.
So typically I do a point if we get yours right, a point if we get mine right. I'm going to give you half a point for every part of this order that you potentially get right.
Okay.
I'm going to say, what is my coffee order?
Oh, okay. And would you find that, I guess am I trying to get hints now?
I feel like you're cheating a little.
Yeah.
You're about to ask if I appreciate the taste of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Okay.
But I think when you see my order, you're going to think that I don't. So there's a hint for you.
Yes. Oh, yes. I'm going to put my mic down while I think about this.
Oh, so you're going to think silently. While his mic's down, I'm going to describe what Simon's doing, okay? He's in pensive thought right now. He just rubbed his nose. He's a righty, but his left hand is steadying the board as he writes something down. I can't see what he's writing. I will tell you, this is what's interesting. As he writes, he rests the pen between his middle and ring finger, which I think is fun. It's a fun, cute thing about Simon. I think you all should know. I do want to say, objectively speaking, Simon is a handsome guy. So for those that are only listening, go watch.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
just came.
All right. Did you write down your answer?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, flip your board. Oh, wow.
Oh.
So you did get some points. So Simon said a dirty chai latte, add a shot, and add oat milk. My order is an iced vanilla oat milk latte. So I'm going to give you
That was kind of my first instinct, was that it was vanilla and a latte with a different kind of milk. Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a full point because you said latte, which is true.
Yeah.
You said oat milk, which is also true.
Yeah.
If you had iced and vanilla, you would have gotten a full 2.
Yeah.
That is the order that I do. And here's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So I do like the taste of coffee.
Yeah.
I don't like the places where when I drink it, I'm like, oh, this is like all vanilla. I don't want that.
You want a hint.
I want to taste the coffee,
Yeah.
but I want to cut some of the bitterness. Now, what I've learned is when you actually have coffee from a good place, you don't need to cut the bitterness because there isn't really a lot of bitterness. Yeah. But in most instances, I will like add vanilla. And if I'm going to a place that I think is like, like a Starbucks or whatever, I'll say, I don't want like 4 pumps of like I don't want that. I just want to have a little vanilla in there.
Yeah.
This is probably a shitty order for someone who used to make coffee, right?
But not at all, really. I mean, that's one of those drinks that's like, you just turn them and burn them.
So do a lot of people, is this a very popular order?
It's super popular, yeah.
Yikes.
I mean, and it's good. I got nothing against that drink.
You don't judge any part of that?
No, fuck no.
Really?
No. I mean, because oat milk, that's what I drink.
I love oat milk. I don't even care, dude. I'll put it in anything. I love it.
It's good. And now like regular milk, no matter what, it has like a sour, sweet taste to me that like is all I notice now. Yeah. Whereas oat milk, I'm like, it's nutty and it makes it taste good.
I love it. I've gotten to a place where I can actually differentiate. I'm like I know this is normal milk. I know this is almond milk. I know this is oat milk. I can really clearly tell the differences. Jess will often, if one of us is having a bad day, again, I've gotten more into coffee because of her, but this is actually going to sound weird. When we're having good days, I'll make us tea. When we're having bad days, she goes and grabs coffee. And when she does that, they'll often accidentally give me like almond milk or something. I immediately know.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not the milk I wanted.
I need oats.
But I won't send it back. I can't. I don't send things back.
Well, yeah. I mean, wait, is she bringing it all the way back here?
Well, she brings it back. But if I go with her, if I get it, I'm very hesitant. It takes a lot for me to send something back.
Not me. I will fucking let them know. I used to be that way, and I don't know. And now I'm just like, you know what? I don't know if I'm that guy who like worked in customer service so long so that I'm just like, I want it the way I fucking want it because people have made me do it the way they want it.
Sure.
So I've been there. And I fucking want it. And now I'm like the worst. Yeah, I'm the worst type of customer now. No.
I wanted to go a little bit backward. Yeah. I want to hear how the first mic went. You were at Bruco. That's where we left off. You're at Bruco. You brought your girlfriend, which is insane.
Hilarious. So I had this bit. And this was like the first premise, other than like basically trying to do a ripoff of what Zach did with his characters.
Sure.
So I had all these like characters at first, But the first premise that I had was because I worked with this guy and we would like go grab beers after work.
Yeah.
Side note, he was also gay.
I will laugh my ass off if that does not at all play into the story.
If I just bring it up and it has nothing to do with it. Side note, he's gay.
Yeah.
And you need to know that. It has nothing to do with the story.
Contextually, I want in it. Yeah.
So basically, the premise is that like we would go out and have beers and we'd be like talking, but I could never keep his attention because he would always just be like checking out all the dudes that came by.
Sure.
And it made me feel insecure. Like I'm not interesting enough. And so I was like, oh, I kind of know how it feels like, you know, when like a guy and a girlfriend are out and like he's checking out girls and it's like disrespectful. So that was the premise. And I did that. And then I did a character, which was the runway model with too big of a gut. And so I turned around, tied my shirt in a half shirt and spun and stuck my stomach out. And then I like did a little catwalk thing. No context. Just that was it. I get off stage and these guys are like brutal. There was one guy in particular who was super mean. He goes, well, that was Simon Gibson, ladies and gentlemen. He's either really bad at being a heterosexual or really bad at being a homosexual. And then the place erupts in laughter. And then I'm just like, wait a minute, what just happened here? Am I gay? No. My girlfriend is there and I walk over to her and she's like smiling and just like so proud. And I was like, I don't think that went very well. And she was like, no, it was great. And I was like, but nobody was laughing. And she's like, no, I was looking around and a lot of people were smiling. And I was like, well, that's the same. And then I did not do comedy again for probably like 3 months, but just was like compelled to go back. I thought that was the only open mic in Los Angeles.
Oh, Lord.
So I just kept going back there.
You would go back in those 3 months, but you wouldn't go up.
No, I'd go up. It was like probably more like a month, you know, just like thinking about it, you know, feeling bad, but still having this weird like feeling compelled to go do it again.
Sure. That's how it is today for me, to this very day. Yeah. I'm like, this makes me feel bad, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. And, you know, fortunately, I feel good now, you know, like having fun, but it is that first handful of times that I did it, I was not getting a return on this investment.
But you were still interested in continuing, even though you didn't get it.
For some reason, I couldn't stop. I had to do it.
And when did you get the one set where you felt like your redemption?
Oh, like 2 years after that.
No, then not that long.
But in those 2 years, when I tell people how long I've actually been doing it, I don't count those 2 years because it was maybe like 10 times I did it.
Yeah.
In 2 years, you know? And then, there was one set at, of all places, another House of Horrors for me. But the first time I had a good set was at the Silver Lake Lounge.
No, that's not possible. That's not possible.
And it was in the way where like stand-up comedy, you know you did good because people will approach you and tell you that it was good. That's literally the only way that you know, or that I know you did good is after the set, somebody comes up and like is literally like, great job. And if you did bad, people aren't going to be like, that sucked. If anything, they just will avoid you.
Correct. That's why I didn't speak to you for a long time.
Yeah. Silver Lake Lounge, Hollywood Hotel. They were right by my house. I fucking lived there.
Is Hollywood Hotel still exist?
As far as the comedy place, I don't think so. It is still a very bad hotel.
Yeah, for sure.
God, I miss the Hollywood Hotel.
No, you don't.
In a way, I do. Yeah, because I remember when I first started going there, there were some shows that were totally packed and it was like good. And then the mics, there'd be like 60 people there and stuff. It was never great. But that was at its peak. Like the first time I saw Rory Scovel was there.
I'm sorry, Rory was doing Hollywood Hotel?
Oh, dude. So was like Amy Schumer and like Anthony Jeselnik back in the day when it was the Ramada. I'm talking like 15 years ago. It's crazy how a place like that, I mean, you couldn't think of it in that way.
No.
It was one of those weird sort of, not meccas, but just where a collection of folks, kind of like Bruco.
And kind of like Meltdown.
And Meltdown, yeah. Meltdown was good, though. If I started now, you know, just that sort of grind, if I also had to work like a 9-to-5 job and then like go out and do that. I mean, it's like the stamina, it's hard. And I don't think I had that in, you know, when I started, which, you know, was kind of my mid-20s was when I really started trying to do it, which is kind of late for, you know, you hear about people like, I went to my first open mic when I was 8 and I was repped, you know, by the time I was 12 and I've been doing comedy for 40 years, but I'm only 24 somehow.
I feel like I catch that all the time because I'll tell people, I'm like, yeah, honestly, I was 100% dedicated to sketch, improv, and storytelling for the first chunk of my comedy performance. But on the side of that, I was in a band that played a lot of live shows.
Nice.
And I started
What did you play?
I played guitar for 15 years and I was a singer. And
what? I didn't know that. That's tight.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you make friends. You learned something about a folk.
Well, let me tell you, I was doing this and I realized I liked the time between the songs when I was talking to the audience.
Joking around.
Yeah, I like that more than the songs.
That in between songs, talking to the crowd is a lot of times better than any stand-up set I've ever seen.
Oh my God, seriously. Ben Folds made me laugh so hard when I saw him live, and I was like, God, this guy should be a comedian.
Damn.
It's better than me. But I was doing that, and that's when I fell in love with it. So a lot of people are like, well, I was doing stand-up since I was 11. I'm like, that's awesome. I was doing a lot of other comedy. I came late in the game to stand-up.
Yeah.
But I do think that doing all that other stuff, doing improv, doing sketch.
helps for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, really, compared to that stuff, stand-up's, it ain't that hard. You know, it's like figuring out your voice and like your perspective. Yes, that does take a long time, and like crafting jokes and getting it to work. But it's like there is a certain rhythm and formula to it, to the point where I'm like, I think acting, playing music, trying to act like comedically.
Yeah.
When I'm just used to saying the funny thing at the end ish, you know, everything's funny comes at the, you know,
sure.
But in like even sitcoms, like the joke is coming not at the end. So it's just acting's hard. And people are like, actors are so dumb, and maybe they are, but it's still like hard to do.
Here's my question for you, because I'm really curious how you do this. So I blew an audition because I was having trouble deciding whether or not to play up the joke or to play the joke straight and let the joke live on its own. So I was like, oh, I get what you're trying to do here. So I'll say this, I'll give you a big one. I'll act big because this is broad. And literally the director in the room was like, let's try it again. Just like, don't play the joke.
Yeah.
And I was like, in my head, I go, I cannot play the joke, but it's not going to be funny.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trusting my instincts, or I was trusting my instincts too much. I wasn't trusting the writing to be like, oh, just play this entirely straight. Your job is not to be super broad. And even when you're broad, you know, I did a Meisner intensive for 2 years. And a lot of the time they said to me, I just finished in October of 2019. I go, I'm going to hit the ground running.
Damn it.
But a lot of times...
what are we even doing out here?
Nothing. But the guy who worked there goes, the biggest...
We're having fun, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. But he goes, the biggest advice I can give you, he goes, be honest in your scenes. Be 100% honest. Even if you know what the joke is, don't play it. Play the truth of the scene. And I have a lot of trouble with that. And my question for you is, as someone who is very comedically inclined, and you are someone who taps in, I think we share this in common. One thing that my girlfriend says we share in common a lot is you and I both get sing-songy. But
the sing-songy. We love a good singy-songy.
I do that so much.
Well, and that's the thing is I like did musicals and like
I didn't know that.
Musical theater. Yeah, I mean I never went to college for it, but all you know, mostly all the way through high school, you know, did all that shit. And,
you were a singer?
Oh yeah.
I can't believe I didn't know that. What did you, can you tell me what some musicals you did in high school were?
Like 42nd Street. And that was probably the big one.
Yeah.
We didn't do like straight musicals, but we would do a lot of like musical reviews.
I love
where
that.
you'd sing like different. And that was kind of from elementary school all the way up. It was like we had a spring performance in high school.
Yeah.
But then like kind of all the way up through that, it would be like we'd sing pieces of other, you know.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. You know, in choir, the whole thing.
I did choir too. I was in Guys and Dolls. That was my first musical.
Yeah.
I played Benny South Street. I sang the song, The Guy's Only Doing It for Some Doll. I think it was called Guys and Dolls. That might have been the name of that song.
Yeah.
But I remember I sang it and the choir teacher goes, you know, you've great voice. Do you harmonize? And I go, no. And he goes, do you want to try? I was like, sure. And I could, if he played it, I was like, I could sing this. As soon as the other person was right next to me singing in my ear, I would always match their tone. And I was like, I can't. So when I would do live shows with my band and some of the like other guys in the band were singing harmony over me, beforehand, I would tell the sound guy, I was like, I don't want their vocals in my ears. Make it very, very faint in my ear so I can make sure that we're in the same zone and that we're on the same line and we're singing for the same duration, but I don't want to hear it super loud in my ears because I'm going to match their pitch.
Yeah. Damn.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, it's not that weird. It makes sense. I'm really good at like hearing something and imitating it or like songbirding, repeating it.
Yeah.
So that does make sense. So if somebody was doing it with the same thing, I would just instinctually match that shit. And next thing I know, I'm ruining
everything.
The show.
I suck. But have you ever had that in an audition where, because again, you are you're an energy guy.
Fuck yeah.
And you're just like, I don't know whether to play the truth of this or play the comedy of that.
I mean, the thing now is like, because everything is not done in person.
Yeah.
You have essentially an infinite amount of tries to get it as close to perfect before it's due.
Right.
You know, sometimes you don't have a lot of time. and it's due, the next day. But yeah, I mean, for me, like being in the room was a benefit to me.
Yeah.
Being able to like charm them, like the casting directors, like make jokes before the scene. But then a good chunk of the time, the biggest note that they would say as nicely as possible is they would be like, okay, try it again, but more grounded.
Yeah.
I got grounded a lot. People will say grounded.
You know what? I feel like this is as good a time as any. We still haven't gotten to your coffee stuff yet, but before we get to that, I feel like I'm going to get to the second segment, and then I want to talk to how you ended up in coffee.
Yeah.
But our second segment is as good as any. It's called Teach Me Something. Cue the music. Everyone I've literally ever met says I have a lot to learn. I use this segment for that. What you teach us, it could be 10 seconds. It could take 10 minutes, preferably not 10 minutes because I don't have that long of an attention span.
Okay.
But anything you want, what do you have to teach us?
Well, your old pal Simon, he's been around the block once or twice. And, we are on the topic of coffee. And, I did compete in latte art competitions.
I'm so excited to talk about this. Yeah.
Came in, never won.
You should have.
Frankly, I don't know if I wanted to.
Oh.
Looking back on it, because I'm like, do I want to actually be someone who has won a latte art competition? Is that the highlight of my life?
I thought 2016 was your year.
2016 was when
Wait, was I right?
Some other stuff came up.
Did you do it?
I had long hung up my steam wand and pitcher.
What year was this that you were doing this, or years?
I mean, I was still working in coffee shops, but I had stopped competing. I was making coffee until I literally got on Cannonball. So until I got on TV, like off and on, yeah. Every time I thought I was out, I needed money.
You back in. What is it from, by the way? Every time I think I'm out, they drag me back in.
The Godfather 3.
Excellent. Didn't see it.
And it's bad.
So you were going to teach us something.
Y'all something.
Please.
And, it's going to be hard to teach without the proper tools. But if you want to steam good milk.
Oh, do I?
So if you got a decent setup at your home, the technique to steaming good milk, somebody told me this one time, is you can steam milk perfectly if you're blind, but not if you're deaf. Because it's all about listening. It's all about
listening. Are you messing with it? This is true.
This is what somebody said to me.
Okay.
People have said crazy shit to me when I was a barista in training of like that this is somehow the most important artistic thing you can do. When I was getting trained on how to do latte art, they made me practice with water, like put pitcher in a cup and then like practice how you push the foam out.
Really?
And I was not getting it right. And he said this to me. The manager, he was like, Simon, you know what the definition of insanity is?
I hate this.
And it's doing the same thing, expecting different results. And this is about milk steaming and pouring.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So essentially, you want to listen. You want to get the tip of the wand in there, just submerged. Okay. Maybe, about an inch.
Okay.
You want to submerge that in the milk before you turn on the steam wand. Very important. You don't want to turn on that steam wand before it's fully submerged in the milk. Right? You're going to, look like me on a Saturday night.
Oh gosh. All right.
I'm the one covered.
No, yeah, of course.
But it's my own.
Oh, okay. You have to have an angle for that.
Youthful face.
Sure.
It's no secret.
They say it's good for wrinkles.
Yeah. It's no secret now. I just gave away the secrets. And then turn it on and you're going to want to listen. Listen to that. And that's stretching out the milk. That's literally making it denser. You're making it denser. You're not creating foam. You're creating density is what we call it.
I didn't know any of this. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's it's really important.
No, I'm enjoying this. Go ahead, yeah.
So you're going... So while you're doing that, what you're doing is kind of pulling your pitcher down so that, your submersion with the tip is kind of getting shorter. So you're pulling it down and...
You're taking it away from it.
Yeah, you're taking it away. Okay. And that's what's creating that density. And then you start your roll, which is to make it textured. So then you submerge it all the way, tilt your pitcher, maybe I used to know all this stuff, but it's like 40.
You just do it by feel probably now.
Just by feel, yeah. And you never have to use a thermometer this way. The bottom of the pitcher is what takes the longest to heat up fully. So you literally just have your finger on the bottom of that pitcher. As soon as it becomes too hot to touch, that's it, done. And that gives you milk that is hot, but drinkable right away. Because the way they teach you is like, you don't want it to be too hot to drink. You want it to be hot, but you're able to drink it right away.
I never understood the people that order, like, they're like, yeah, can I get a coffee extra hot? I'm like, why would you want that? Unless you're driving a far distance and want your coffee to be hot then. Like, it's undrinkable.
Yeah, I used to have to like steam drip coffee for people because it wasn't hot enough.
That's insane.
And now I'm going to guide you through how to make a heart.
Oh.
So you have your shot of espresso in your cup.
I'm actually dying to know this because I tried to do this and screwed it up. Yeah.
And YouTube's a great
I don't want YouTube. I want Simon Tube.
You get Simon Tube. So you get your espresso shot in a cup first.
Yep.
And then what you're going to do is you're going to tilt your cup at an angle like this. And when you're starting out, just rest the cup on the counter. It gives you way more balance and support. You know, when you become a pro, then you can just hold it and then you like do it. You get your pitcher.
Yeah.
The first pour, you're basically slipping it underneath the espresso. So the espresso is floating towards the top. And that's creating your canvas because the espresso is your canvas for drawing. Once you get to about 2/3 full in the cup with the espresso floating on top of the milk that's underneath, then you increase your rate of pour at an angle. And then that is what pushes out that foam that's going to start what's called the drawing process.
I got to tell you, learning from you, I did every part of this wrong when I tried to do this at home. Granted, I was using the milk frother from the Nespresso.
Oh, yeah.
Which
I'll bet I could do it. I'll bet I could draw on that.
I tried to make Jess a heart. It was awful. I didn't do any of this thing. I also didn't know that you're supposed to get the milk under. I did not know most of this.
Yeah, you did. That's like the most important part is underneath. And then you increase your rate of pour. You know, still, you're not like pouring real fast. And then you'll start to see that foam create like a ball. So you're looking for a ball.
Okay.
You can just literally keep your hand in the same spot. And as it's almost full, then you lift up the pitcher and you cut through. So when you cut through, that's the line that's going through that ball. And then it makes it into a heart.
No way.
Yeah.
I did this entirely incorrectly. Yeah. So I guess to make sure I'm clear, are you making the heart almost upside down when you're doing it and then you turn it around?
Yeah, it's going to be upside down to you.
Okay.
But to the customer or whoever you're giving it to,
you're giving the heart to them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I crapped this out in every which direction. Every instruction you gave, I did incorrectly when I tried to do this.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here to teach.
That was a great Teach Me Something segment. I think it was one of my favorites. That was really helpful.
It's literally the only thing I know.
Well, I feel bad so for those who are listening, I'm just looking right down the barrel. If you were listening, go watch because you showed kind of the angle on the cup and all that was super helpful.
If I had I could, it'd be.
That's great. I had no idea. I wish we had done this in the early morning and then I would have had Jess. I make Jess something called a Jess special in the morning, which is I do 2 shots on the Nespresso and then she doesn't have the patience for the steamed milk. So I just pour a little milk in there, but then she microwaves it. I'm like, if you're going to microwave it, just steam your milk.
Oh yeah.
Why microwave it? That's so weird.
But it's like the amount that would be in a latte or
not even.
Okay. Just like a little splash.
More like a cappuccino without the foam.
Yeah. Got it. Just enough to like shoot it.
Kind of.
Pretty quick. Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
I mean, I was staying in a sublet that had an espresso.
Yeah.
And
you hate it?
No, I mean, the thing, it's not like the best, but it's not bad. And if it's like, I mean, I was drinking like 4 of those, like just like
4 pods or 4 drinks of 2 pods apiece?
4 pods.
Oh, I was going to say, Jesus.
Yeah.
So are you the kind of person, and please tell me if I'm like mischaracterizing you, are you the kind of person who like could have an espresso at like 10 p.m. and go to bed?
No.
Okay.
No,
how do those people do it?
I don't know. I cut myself off, but but definitely the first 5 or 6 hours, I pretty much have all my coffee. Unless I have to unless I'm doing stand up late and I'm super tired or whatever. But usually I just stick to club soda and then like 8 or 9 beers. Like I've totally had people come on stage and who think that they can chug a beer faster than me.
Hold on.
And I
think there's video.
Destroy them.
I think there's video of this and you dominated.
I have yet to lose. I'm not going to say never.
Well,
because it will happen.
You'll find someone who's amazing.
I have yet to find someone who can chug a beer faster than me anywhere ever.
Do you
on stage?
Do you offer that at shows you're at? You're like, if anyone thinks they could do it,
it has to happen organically. But usually because I'm not selling out clubs.
You would if it were in my heart. You sell all the clubs.
Thank you. So when I am at these clubs, what I do try to do is boost alcohol sales. So like, so I'm like, they're drinking like it's sold out.
You guys got to book me again because your alcohol sales are huge.
Not to give away all my tricks, but I do have a great trick. Like if I finish a beer and I see like people ordering, I'll be like, oh God, I love this table. Get them a round of drinks. Put it on their tab. Also get one for me too.
Yeah. I'll bet they wouldn't mind. I'll bet they would buy you.
Then usually they do. So like, so sometimes what'll happen is like, I'll be on stage and I have like 2 or 3 different groups of people buying me beers. So I'll have like 3 beers on stage sometimes. And I, on stage, I'm like drinking like Miller Lite. Sure. I keep it, I'm not chugging IPAs up there.
I won't chug an IPA no matter where I am. I don't care for
I would never drink that. So it's basically like I'm chugging, water. Yeah.
Yeah. I know we have to get to the lightning round soon, but I do want to ask you, how did you get to coffee? You're here. Yeah. You're doing open mics. You don't love it. You're doing it for a couple of years before you really got into it. Yeah. While you're doing that, you're just like, let me get a side gig and I'm going to make it coffee versus serving or bartending or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like I had a uncle who lived here who was basically like managing a coffee shop and would later open up his own coffee shop. Should we plug
it? Is it still open?
Yeah, it's still open, but he doesn't own it anymore. He like stepped away.
Then we're not plugging
but
it.
It's still a great, but the first place I worked at, the crazy place, is in Santa Monica. It's called Cafe Lux.
I think I've heard of it, but I don't think I've been.
There's one it's like Montana Avenue. I mean, this place, and that's the place he was managing when I moved here. And he was like this old school Seattle guy who had done coffee, for decades or whatever.
Yeah.
So he, basically was like, if you want to move down to LA, you could stay with me and I can get you this job.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, let's fucking go, dude. And so then worked at a bunch of other places. And then, the brunch restaurant. I worked at Blue Jam, home of the crunchy French toast. Pretty fucking good. It's on Melrose, like in the Fairfax district.
I hear you.
And then I just got like super into, the science and then the artisanal aspects of it.
You're an artisanal guy.
Back in the day, you do latte art. It was a great way to flirt with girls.
You're like, oh, look at this heart I made you.
Yeah.
I think that's as good a time of any as to go to our lightning round. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Cue that music. This is the lightning round. These are fast questions. They don't have to be fast answers. So take your time if you want.
Okay.
I like to use an index card. Makes me feel like a late night talk show host.
Yeah.
Question 1. What is a favorite ritual of yours? So mine is brewing tea. What's a favorite ritual of yours?
My ritual, and it might be a superstition, is if I have a club soda before I go on stage, like specifically a club soda with lime, I will have a good set. And I don't know if that's a ritual, but it's something that I do now. I think I should almost every time.
Maybe I need to be doing that.
Because it's not alcohol, but it's still like a fun, bubbly drink, but it's not sugar.
No.
I
love that.
Yeah.
That's a very good answer.
But I used to have a ritual where if I had to do comedy at all, for some reason, I thought I had to have avocado because it made my brain work better.
Dear Lord.
But it couldn't be a whole avocado because that's too much brain. So it had to be a half an avocado. And then I'm like, I can't do this.
That's not sustainable.
I don't like them that much.
If you're doing shows in like the cornfields of Indiana, you can be like, can I get a fresh avocado?
Yeah, in December. Yeah, it ain't happening.
No.
But club soda, they got them everywhere.
I like it. Question 2, what is a running bit you have with a friend or partner that makes you laugh?
Well, I used to have this bit that I would do with myself when I would get cut off at bars. This is in my early 20s.
Sure. Or a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Where they'd be like, I can't serve you anymore. And I would be like, do you have any idea who my father is? And then they'd wait a second. And then I'd be like, because I'm looking for him. I have no idea who he is. Come on.
Question 3, can you do an impression of one or both of your parents?
Well, my mom used to do this thing when I was a kid, when I was in trouble, where she would start saying my name, my full name, and it would be at a whisper. And by the end of my last name, it'd be like a full scream. I don't know if anyone else's moms ever did this. So I'd be like doing something bad.
Yeah.
And she would just be like, get over here right now, Simon Alexa Gibson. And,
it goes real fast. Just whoop.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's how I knew some shit was going down.
You're like, ooh, don't love it.
Yeah.
Question 4, we're about to get a little deep. Yeah. Question 4, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if so, was there a particular moment that comes to mind?
Anytime I have to send a professional email, I'm like,
I don't belong here.
I'm like, what is a BCC? And
it's a booka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they, yeah?
Booka, yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Now I know.
Yeah, listen, I love a good blind carbon copy.
That's what it is.
Gotcha.
I'll never remember that.
And honestly, it's information you'll never need.
Professional email, yeah. Whenever I have to do something that has the vaguest semblance of like corporate, like how it's supposed to be done, I'm just like, I have no fucking clue.
Your final question. What is your favorite tea? And if you're not a big tea drinker, what's your favorite comfort?
I mean, I would say my favorite tea is Earl Grey. Earl Grey with like usually with this one, we didn't sweeten or put anything
No, there's
at all.
nothing. This was straight tea, yeah.
But like Earl Grey with like a dash of whole milk.
Sure.
And some just white granulated sugar.
Of course.
It's so good.
Listen, I never judge that. Anytime someone's like, I put a little sugar in my tea, is that okay? I'm like, of course it is.
Yeah, just like
have the tea the way you want.
Yeah, just out of the
what
is that thing?
The diner thing.
that diner sugar.
Yeah, I don't know what that thing is called, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, like 2 seconds of that, the tea.
Oh yeah.
I like to put the sugar in the cup before the tea.
Bold.
Yeah, because
then you can actually see how much you're putting in.
And it melts it better. Yeah, so it'll basically like by the time the tea is to the top, this is a great trick. Even with coffee too, you put it in first and then you put the coffee, it dissolves it so you barely have to stir it. Yeah.
You slick son of a bee.
I'm teaching. I keep teaching.
We got teaching segments all over. That's your episode. How do you feel? You feel good?
Oh, I feel great. Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, my pleasure. Simon Gibson, thank you for being on Steep Conversations. That was Simon Gibson. You can follow him on Instagram and TikTok at Simey Gibson Comedy. You can follow him on Twitter at Simey Gibson. Steep Conversations is produced and edited by Lucas Marshka. Our theme song and additional music are by Oliver Hymack. Our cover art was done by Neil Fraser with photography by Matt Mazisco. Social media by Dia Villegas. Please write a review and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts and wherever else you can. You can send any questions, comments, newly friend game suggestions, or tea suggestions to steepcombos@gmail.com or tweet us at steepcombos. I'm Josh Lanzette, and you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Josh Lanzette. We'll be back next week, so until then, happy steeping.